They say it's rude, crude, vile, it's obscene, it's mean, the worst thing you have ever seen. Today we're talking about Hazbin Hotel, which may be the biggest show on television, the #1 show in streaming, if some sites are to be believed. However, we're here to throw a little bit of cold water on that, and we're going to debate whether or not Amazon should be throwing their weight behind a show based on hell. Folks, get ready for a very based video, the kind you'll only find right here on the Pro Channel. Hello folks, welcome back to the Pro Channel. A joy as always. We of course are here to explain entertainment. We put Hollyweird through the waking up process of realizing they need to make money, and money perhaps is being made off of Hazbin Hotel. Today we're taking a look at this, well, it's not an article, it's a chart. It's a list out of televisionstats.com, the top TV shows today. And this is the 200 most popular TV shows based on data from Thursday, January 25th. It's talking about, though, the amount of noise that the shows are generating online in terms of conversations. So it's not necessarily a correlation to the actual viewership or ratings of a show. That said, we definitely take notice when Hazbin Hotel has a 48.37, which is, leaps and bounds above anything else. True Detective in the second spot, Griselda in the third, Reacher at the fourth spot. Now, we know, of course, that based on what we've seen from Nielsen, that Reacher is probably the #1 or #2 show on any given week for streaming right now. Hazbin Hotel, however, we don't have the statistics yet out of either Nielsen or Samba TV. They register those views based on their own criteria, but this, off of Television Stats, is measuring based on online chatter. Definitely not the viewership. That said, it's noteworthy. Now, we took some major flack on this channel because many people out there said, hey, Pro, you're going after Hazbin Hotel and that's unfair. And so we promised to have a debate on the subject of the Hazbin Hotel, whether it is offensive or not. For those of you who don't know, Hazbin Hotel is a cartoon that looks like Powerpuff Girls or Dexter's Laboratory or something like that, except that it's based on Judeo-Christian beliefs. It's based on the Bible, and it's based on subverting and converting the Judeo-Christian stories and theologies, sort of the fundamental principles of the religion, into something that's more co-opted for people who don't have any belief and want to do mockery of the idea of Satan. And so we've talked about this on the channel. We've talked about how this is kind of a risk, and Amazon has put a lot behind marketing this, even letting this be sort of their takeover show of their online platforms. It's been on their banners, it's been on their marquees and all of that. So I want to welcome in, for all of you, Michell of Force of Light, as well as CC Karaoke. They agreed to debate, and we hosted them on the Pro Show, a special edition last night. And for those of you who were unable to join, I want you to have the honor and the pleasure of listening in on these two great minds talk about the two perspectives. CC Karaoke is going to take the position that Hazbin Hotel is fine, and it's a good idea for Amazon to do it. And Michelle of Force of Light is going to take the position that it's actually probably an offensive show and perhaps riskier than it should be. Folks, you will decide, because you are the kind of intellectual geniuses out there who both find this channel and find this kind of content interesting. We're happy you're here. Let's get straight to the debate. Folks, you all requested this. You all wanted us to take a look back at Hazbin Hotel and what's going on there, and we never want to let down our viewers, so here we go. Now, before we debate the Hazbin Hotel, there's going to be quite a few of you out there who want to know what in the world is this #2 show on Amazon Prime. So let's talk about it. And lest anyone say, well, now this is biased against the show, this was sent to me by CC Karaoke. Mr. Karaoke, is that correct?
That is correct.
I
would imagine the interview is meant to favor Vivian, to be fair.
To be fair. Now, this is out of THR by Abby White. Not White, White. Hazbin Hotel creator on representing a certain particular type of worker, redemption, and going from YouTube to A24. Vivian Medrano also talks to THR about creating connective tissue between her original pilot and 8-episode series, and how the R-rated musical comedy is proving there's a lot that LGBT stories and adult animation can do. Here's a brief overview. The R-rated musical comedy originated online as a 30-minute pilot in 2019 and quickly won over a fan base that has largely stuck by it since its self-funded days. The series follows Princess of Hell, Charlie Morningstar, who, in an attempt to stop the angels from murderously purging her demonic subjects, opens a hotel to help rehabilitate them. The goal? Turn these sinners into saints unable to be wiped out by the angels. And so goes on to talk about it. Now, this really broke out into a bit of a kerfuffle with the folks who watch this channel because we did a video where we talked about the marketing side of this and said that for Amazon, there's a bit of a risk in doing this show. You could have another cutie situation. You could have a situation where people say, well, I left Disney Plus because it's woke. What am I doing here on Amazon Prime Video if this is what we're watching? There were some out there who took umbrage with that. And I said, well, you know what? In all fairness of getting to the truth, we'll just have a debate about it. And so I want to start off with CC. Mr. Karaoke, tell me where I might be wrong in assessing that Hazbin Hotel is perhaps too risky for Amazon Prime Video and they should rethink it.
It's a very difficult question to answer. And I turned this over my head a bunch of times, and I think that really the individual will have to decide for themselves whether they're comfortable with the content of the show. But I will say I'd never even heard of the show until the video you did a few days or a week ago or whatever it is now. And so I decided to check it out. I watched the available episodes. I watched the 2019 pilot. And then I also watched the spin-off series, Hell of a Boss. This is someone who began on YouTube back in 2012 and built up a YouTube audience. I should point out that she has a massive YouTube audience. I mean, she has an 8.96 million subscribers at the time of this recording and going up. So the show itself is incredibly popular. And when I started to look into how popular it is, I was kind of floored, staggered by that. Now, just because something's popular doesn't mean that it's good, just, moral, what have you. But I would put forth that, I mean, we're talking about an animated, and I love animated shows, right? But live action does tend to garner a larger audience many times out of 10. I would, at least that's my impression. And this animated show has absolutely staggering popularity that kind of reminds me a little bit of My Little Pony, where it has a really dedicated fan base that's very, very strong about the lore of the universe that the creator created. And I want to point that out because I think with regards to whether or not this will be bad for Amazon, I do think that there's a similar rule set that we're going to find here wherein, if Amazon mistreats the existing fans of the show the way that Disney mistreated Marvel and Star Wars, that will be bad for Amazon because the fans of this show are very, very strongly gatekeeping how they feel the rules of the universe set forth by the show should be, right? But just for a little bit of numerical context without getting into the actual show itself, I looked at some of these numbers. The pilot from 2019 has 95 million views on YouTube with a 98.3% like ratio. One of the music videos from that pilot has 161 million views with 97.4% like ratio. The pilot, Hell of a Boss, the spin-off show, has 62 million views. It goes on. I mean, these are huge, huge numbers. These are top of the pops kind of numbers. So I would at least open by saying the show definitely has a very strong popularity index, and it's not surprising that it's the second highest viewed show on Amazon presently. Again, that doesn't say that it's moral or just, but it does say that it is definitely going to benefit Amazon in some degree by its existing fan base.
Well said. Now, we've got some out in the audience who are asking, hey, when are we going to get to the Elon Musk and the race stuff? Folks, that's coming in the second hour. Hang tight. We're to get there. But I want to go to Michelle now. Michelle, the counter argument that I've heard thus far is that the Hazbin Hotel co-ops Judeo-Christian beliefs and sort of inverts them for its own purposes. Michelle, walk us through why you might disagree or differ with the idea that Amazon Prime is well positioned by having the show on its service?
Well, I mean, I think there's two separate things here. Maybe it does do well for Amazon Prime. As he said, it has a huge following. So it very well doesn't hurt Amazon Prime. And one thing that's actually good for Amazon versus the Netflix in a cutie situation is like outside of The Boys, for the most part, no one really talks about Amazon shows. If we're being honest with ourselves, like I know people like I enjoyed Reacher, but like no, even Reacher barely gets talked about. Like my point is Amazon, if this was Netflix, this would be blown, it would be everywhere right now. Like you would be feeling backlash, anger, everything. But because it's on Amazon, I just think it kind of goes a little unnoticed to where it's going to kind of slide under a lot of people's radar, and then maybe they do just.
Is that because the likelihood of people wanting to boycott Amazon is so low because it's tied to their free deliveries?
Well, probably, but do you get what I'm saying though? People don't really talk about Amazon shows. They don't have like a Stranger Things. They don't have like these Wednesdays. They don't have like the same buzz that Netflix shows get. I mean, a good example of that, they actually did a show last year was up for Emmys recently. Daisy Jones and the Six. I thoroughly enjoyed the show. It was a very well made show, but it got no buzz by people because no one really cares about Amazon shows. Is how it feels. So that's where I don't know that it is going to hurt them, but for people who do see it, I mean, good gosh, like there's plenty of stuff that Hollywood, that entertainment that comes out that I'm not going to watch just because it goes against certain things I believe. But this was like next level. Like, I don't know that I've ever watched something that literally tramples upon Judeo and Christian values in the way this does, because it literally takes the origin story of both of our faiths and just totally twist it and lies. Like at the very fundamental level of just a quick Google search will tell you that over 2.38 billion people around the world at least identify as Christian, and that's just Christian. Then you add Jewish into that as well. That's a lot of people that if they did see this, I don't know how they're not thoroughly grossed by what they saw, because again, you're taking a faith and totally flipping it, and basically up is down, down is up. And that's very troubling to watch.
So I'm going to come back to that in just a moment, Michelle. I want to ask you about the criticism that this is akin to the satanic panic of the past. But Cece, I want to come to you though, and take what Michelle has said and further that point to you. And I just want to ask, there are a lot of people who say that this is attempting to be edgy by doing just exactly what she said, and fair enough. But why is it that it doesn't do that with something like the Muslim faith? Why is it that it plays sort of safe by taking on a faith that is less likely to, to go after them in a way more than just verbal or ideological?
Well, I've been trying to understand over the last couple of days where Vivian's coming from. She definitely talks a lot about having been young and stupid when she was 5-10 years ago. She still is young. She's still inexperienced. And through watching the show, I feel like the inclusion of heaven and hell and these ideas, kind of a miss, actually, kind of an inexperienced, youthful miss on her part, because I feel like you could take that completely out of the show and the show would still function. It would still be fine, insofar as it's about a group of characters who come together as friends in this place called the Hazbin Hotel. The world doesn't need to be hell. It can be just a depraved world that is being oppressed by another society. It doesn't need to use these names. It doesn't need to borrow from these places. All of that could be completely changed to be something completely original, and the show would still work. but I think in saying that, I'm also saying that I got the impression that the show doesn't, and this is just my personal opinion, and that may differ with other people, of course, but I didn't feel like I was being inundated by, I felt like the stories were more focused on this group of friends. And through watching the spinoff, it definitely reminded me of that recent Elon Musk quote. What I see all over the place is people who care about looking good while doing evil.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think what Vivian is really most instilling through her writing with this show is that idea. I do think she could have done it without using heaven and hell. But I feel like that's where her intention is coming from. The pilot episode of the Hell of a Boss spin-off series, for example, very early on, it compares the man who had an island and is no longer on this earth. He compares that person to the leader of Germany during the World War II era as being completely the worst evil to ever exist and to be completely irredeemable. So that also suggested to me that she's not actually saying that everyone and everything can be redeemed. And she's looking kind of more at this group specifically in the Hazbin Hotel that there is redemption possible for some people. I just think maybe her communication through youthful inexperience could have been sharper.
And can I say something on that? Because what you're saying is actually what is so bothersome to me. Because the implication is that heaven has like turned their backs on these people. And that goes right at the heart of the Christian faith. That salvation is for whosoever calls upon the name of the Lord shall be saved. It doesn't matter what you've done in your past. It's about, redemption is that. It is redeeming what we have done. And the idea, again, what I saw from this, I did see the actual trailer, but I saw whatever it was where it did like its origin. That's the main thing that I saw.
And really, that was what we analyzed on the channel, was that particular piece of marketing. And my understanding is that may not be as indicative of the show as some would have liked for it to have been, given that it was marketing. But just to specify what that is, go ahead with your thought, Michelle.
Yes. So just the fact that it is very dangerous, I would use the words dangerous, in a society that is already struggling with truth. And by truth, I mean even just simple realities of even biological in nature. We live in a society that really basically has rejected truth. And that's where, again, something like this, when I saw it, it was stomach turning. Because you're literally taking something that is true and you're flipping it and presenting a lie. And I just feel that is the last thing a society that is, again, already struggling for truth needs.
Michelle, let me hit you with a tough question, and I want to see how you play with this. Many of our viewers, their criticism was that this was akin to the satanic panic, that this is much to do about nothing, that why don't we get our knickers in a twist when it comes to Lucifer or Diablo, the video game series? Why is it only this show that suddenly we're so frustrated with? So where is the line, Michelle, and how do we differentiate this from the satanic panic, where we had the 90s people wanting to censor so much from the right? Of course, that's now been inverted. Now it's on the left they want to censor. But what's the difference here versus then?
Well, I mean, yeah, in the 90s, you did have, like, I lived through, we'll say I even lived through the Harry Potter thing, different stuff like that. That at the end of the day, when it comes to, as a minister, my take is, I mean, unless something just blatantly, obviously bad, like, for the most part, you've got to let people kind of, that's with them to decide what they're going to watch. As far as stuff like that. But again, that is very different. The stuff that they were fussing about in the 90s is very different even than this. Because again, this is what I watched is a direct assault against literally the foundation of truth, the foundation of scripture for both Christians and Jews. So that to me is the difference. I have never seen literally the foundation of Christian and Jewish beliefs so like just twisted and presented falsely. And that just, for any Christian, it's just like, ooh, it's kind of like an abomination. It's just kind of how I felt watching it.
Well, I want to give Cece a chance to respond to that. And we do have to wind it up here, but I think we've both presented the sides. But Cece, what are your thoughts given Michelle's concerns?
I think they're completely legitimate. And I think everybody has the right to decide for themselves what they're comfortable with, what they believe is to be moral and just. In that sense, if you find the show abhorrent, don't watch it. I mean, absolutely. And I would respect that. And I would hope everyone else would respect that as well. I think the conversation began with whether or not this would be successful for Amazon, and
right.
We'll
if it's risky on the marketing side of it, in terms of like, could this strike a chord that causes some customers to turn away from Amazon Prime Video? It
will. It absolutely will. It's just time will tell whether it's enough to act, that they'll feel it. Because as I mentioned, it's also a wildly popular show. There's many people who will watch it, and it will be successful so long as those existing fans are not turned upon. So only time will tell in that regard. But if you disagree with something, you do, closing your wallet is a very effective way to make your voice heard. And by all means, you should do that if that's how you feel. I'm not here to demand one way or the other on that regard. Whether my personal feelings watching the show, I can see Vivian. She says she's very much inspired by Invader Zim, and I see that. Very much. It's got a little bit of My Little Pony in it, and a little bit of Dexter's Laboratory. If you're not into that, the Powerpuff Girls in the first place, then it's kind of besides the point, because you're not going to be interested in it. If you are, if you find it to be abhorrent, then absolutely it's another reason not to watch it.
Well, if we're satisfied with that being our stopping point, Cece, are you good with that?
I would say if I'm going to judge it strictly just as setting aside the content, and is it a well constructed show, I would say to a certain degree, yes. There are other shows I've liked a lot better, and with so much to watch, if I had to choose, I would watch Invader Zim first.
I love Invader Zim. Angry Beavers is better though. But let me say this. So Cece, Michelle, thank you so much for participating in this. Both of you did this voluntarily and did an exceedingly good job. And this is the level of high discourse that I think we want to provide on this channel and want people to be able to enjoy and think through it themselves. Folks, you all are tremendously intelligent and gifted. It's now time for you to decide what you think. But Cece and Michelle have done such a wonderful job of presenting both sides. I want to bring on the entire panel real quick and see if anyone else has any thoughts now that we've got the full party here. Anyone have any other thoughts who's been listening as to what you think about Hazbin, and perhaps if you'd like to add some commentary?
Well, and can I just say lastly that I totally agree with him on the fact of, like, if you don't watch, like, I'm not going to watch it because I don't want to support it. And I would find it offensive anyways to what I believe. And then also, as he was saying too, which I totally agree, the best way to vote is with your wallet. So if you ever are genuinely, upset and want to cancel your membership, I think that's a great way to send a message.
Well said. All right. If everybody's happy and pleased, we'll move on to Super Chats. If not, this is your last chance to hop in and give some sort of insight.
Go ahead.
I'll only say
that the question you asked, Pro, about is it less likely for people to cancel because they're getting their free delivery, is relevant in the larger scheme of what we talk about on these channels, in that I'm getting pitches on Facebook that, hey, you can have a year free of Grubhub Supreme or whatever they call their upscale service with the free delivery. I have Paramount Plus through my Walmart Plus thing. So maybe we are proving in the marketplace even more and more that the standalone streaming without any goodies attached is not going to work by comparison. And Disney Plus, take note.
True that. Tom, you had a thought?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard a lot of different sides to this argument, and look, I'm for the side of you should be able to make a movie or show about just about anything for the most part, but you also
Absolutely.
have to face the facts that some people are going to reject it or not like it,
and that there's a risk sometimes in the marketplace.
There is
some types of content,
and there's some really great points brought up in the private chat here, which I'm not going to dive into because I don't want to, bring out anybody else's points. But one of the things I did bring up is one thing I do hear people saying a lot is that it's rated M. Okay, but what does that really mean anymore, right? Like, it used to be stuff like, even when I was a kid, like shows like The Simpsons and stuff were considered adult entertainment, and that was shown after 7, 8 o'clock, depending on your market. So, like, at least in that case, it was treated like it was not a kid's show shown at Saturday mornings or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, again, depending on your market, after school. This show is on an open platform, so is anybody really even paying attention to it being rated M? And the art of it, to me, screams a kid's show, right? Like, nothing about the art style or anything like that makes me think it's an adult program. Now, again, we live in a world where we have hundreds of adult cartoons now compared to 20 years ago, 30 years ago, what have you. I understand that, but we're also in a different world where those type of shows used to be shown at like 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night. You can watch this any time of the day. Your kid can just click on it any time of day. I'm not even sure. I mean, yeah, you have adult, blocks and stuff you can have on some of these streaming services, but 9 times out of 10, you got to turn to your kid and ask how to turn it off anyway when you want to watch something. So,
well, I will say that first of all, I am not for censorship. It is for you, the consumer,
right,
to make the decision. Are you going to watch it or are you not going to watch it? I'm not canceling my Amazon Prime because there's a show that could possibly be problematic. I haven't seen it yet. Same thing with Netflix. There's a bunch of stuff on Netflix that I don't necessarily agree with, but I'm not going to, boycott Netflix. But what it does boil down to, and I always have to tell parents this, you need to know what your children are watching. Mm-hmm. Ask what they're watching. Sit down with them and see what it is that they're watching. Do not let the people used to let the TV raise their kids. Do not let the streaming service raise your kids, because in the end, the people who are responsible for what your kids are watching is you, the parent.
Well said, and I think that's the perfect place to stop. And folks, that is a wrap for today. We do appreciate you being here. And if you appreciate this kind of content, hopefully elucidating some sort of deeper thought into these kinds of matters, we'll click the like button, share, subscribe, and when you click it, you stick it to the algorithms. It's the notification bell. Drop a comment down below and let us know your thoughts and tell us which side you're on. Do you think that the Hazbin Hotel is offensive, or do you think it's just A-okay and fine? What do you think about Amazon having this be their key program? Is it risky? Does it put them in that sort of cuties territory? Does it put them in danger of falling into the wokesters of Disney? Tell us what you think about the marketplace and all of that. Of course, every day here we're explaining entertainment and attempting to, of course, enrich your day. We hope we've done so. And folks, wherever you are and whatever you're doing, keep learning, keep growing, and keep having fun.
This is one big cultural appropriation, don't you think?
What do you mean? We're just celebrating the Year of Medmud.
There's no thing called the Year of Medmud. There's a dog, but not a Medmud. Where do you get this from? Were you reading Time magazine again?
No, but I just figured that since he's so generous, he deserved to be like Star of the Year. The goat, if you will.
No.
You all know goats are hot.
You're just trying to suck up to him to get a membership on our channel, aren't you?
Maybe.
That's so disgusting. I'd say you should be ashamed of yourself, but trying to butter up to him like that... Then again, it is you.
Look, man, butter worked on Jonath.
Putting butter on a second-degree burn isn't a solution. Besides that, there's like another restraining order against you going near anyone in the kitchen. But you know what there isn't a court order for? Subscribing to WDW Pro and bookmarking thatparkplace.com, where John Trent is editor-in-chief, so you can keep ahead of the culture curve and get accurate information, which will also keep you from getting burned by the mainstream media.
So you are saying I did a sick burn?
You're an idiot. Now clean all this up.
Yeah, I'm not cleaning this up.